Every devotee knows that I have open door policy. They can always come to me and tell me anything that's on their mind, you know. And as long as they're not being a rascal, I'm not going to chastise them. I'm going to try to help them. So that's the difference between an esoteric school and a religion. In an esoteric school, people actually work on their anarthas until they overcome them. And this ability to speak freely, confidentially, without fear, with confidence, is central to overcoming one's anarthas. And we find in sanghas where free communication or open sharing of confidential information is not possible, people don't overcome their anarthas. It's very simple. Because that kind of communication is absolutely necessary to reach that stage of devotional service. They don't understand that. When they're doing that, when they do that, that means they're locking out the higher level of sadhana, the raganuga level of sadhana. They're locked out. So then they develop this whole false approach to Krishna consciousness, to the esoteric teaching, that, oh, it's only about regulative principles. It's only about, external things. And then it becomes a religion, and the whole essence is lost. And finally, accepting prasāda and offering prasāda. Prasāda means the remnants of offerings to the Lord. Every day we make so many offerings of food, incense, flowers, lamps, and so many things. And you see that after the lamp is offered, for example, someone takes it around to all the devotees, and we all share it. We all give and take this prasāda, or the prasāda, the lunchtime or evening prasāda, the food that we offer to Krishna. It's so wonderful to share. This is a major event in our day. We look forward to it. We prepare for it for hours. And then we come, and it's like a big celebration. It's like a feast. It's wonderful. And so at this time, there's so many confidential inquiries and discussions, and so many nectar exchanges between the devotees. So the sharing, or the giving and acceptance of prasāda, creates a context where these other exchanges are also possible. You see, we give so many gifts, and we accept so many other gifts, and we inquire and we share confidentially what's on our mind, and then we take prasadam together, and that's like the scene where all this exchanges of love between the devotees can happen. So this is devotional life. And if any of these things are missing, or if any of them are problematic, then the association becomes crippled and does not produce the desired result, which is love of Godhead. See? What we want is to create an atmosphere where love of Godhead can grow. It's just like if you want to grow a certain type of plant, that you have to create the soil of the proper pH. Not too acid, not too alkaline. Has to be just right. Then that plant will grow very nicely. Otherwise, if you don't, then the plant would be withered, or it may die completely. Just like we were making compost for our garden, and the landlady told us, well, don't use these leaves from the tree, the nut trees, because they're too acid. Vegetables like alkaline soil. So don't use those trees. What they do is they inhibit growth. You see around the chestnut trees especially, that weeds don't grow. The same with pine needles. Pine needles, also the bark and leaves from the eucalyptus tree, they're acid. And so the ground around them, where all the bark and leaves fall, there's no weeds. It's clear. It's open. And the trees do that so that they outcompete the local bushes and stuff like that. The baby trees do fine in that soil. So, just like in the same way, acidic people, when I grew up in New York, we had an expression for people who had sociopathic tendencies. We called them poisonalities. Which is kind of a pun because, you know, in Jersey, the slang is to exchange the two diphthongs, and oi. So the boys are chirping in the morning, you know, until the car comes by with the smell of Earl. Yeah. Oi and are exchanged. So birds becomes boids. Oil becomes Earl. It's crazy. Anyway, personalities. Yeah, poisonalities. Yeah. So poisonalities are people who, the minute they come in the room, you can feel this like tension. You know, they're they're wound up really, really tight. These people, they're in a lot of pain, and they broadcast this pain around them wherever they go, and they actually project it on other people. And to be in a relationship with a person like this is torture. You know, it's horrible, because the person he's always uptight, or she's always uptight, and always very critical, and always, you know, always projecting their suffering on others. You made me feel bad, you know, the Jewish mother syndrome, you know. You didn't eat all your food. You don't love me. Oh, you know, we don't need this. We have enough problems in life.
Like my father.
Huh?
Like my
Yeah, he's a little bit like that, passive aggressive. Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, everybody in this material world, because they don't have the solution to their problems, they don't have a solution that works. So they make up a story about their suffering that allows them to not have a solution for it. But you made me suffer. See? If the other person created my condition, then there's nothing I can do about it. But the fact is, we create our condition, nobody else. And the law of karma is very exact, it's very precise. So the amount of suffering that we cause others, we ourselves are going to experience the exact same amount of suffering. So you can understand, if you're suffering, that means that in the past you have created that kind of suffering and that amount of suffering for other people. Now you're experiencing the other end of the stick. So even though each person is the real cause of their enjoyment or suffering, still the person who inflicts suffering on others has to suffer for it in the future. Just like Mrigari, the hunter. He was so cruel. He liked to half kill the animals. He would shoot very carefully with his bow so they didn't kill them immediately. He liked to watch them flapping and struggling in pain. Yeah, real great guy. So Narada Muni went to preach to him. And the first thing he said to him is, you know, you can't be so cruel. It's all going to come back to you. Don't you realize this? And Mrigari said, no, nobody ever told me this before. What are you talking about? And so Narada gave him a vision in which he saw all the animals that he had killed coming around him all at once, ganging up on him and like tearing him apart. slowly. And he was completely freaked out. He said, "That's what's going to happen?" And Narada said, "Yeah, as soon as you leave this body, then the spirits of all those animals that you torture are going to come and they're going to torment you. So that's your karma. That's what's going to happen." There's a hell described in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam called the Raurava. And in the Raurava hell, the animals and other creatures that we cause pain to, they come in subtle forms and they cause equivalent pain to us. So it's not a pleasant place. We don't want to go there. It's described in Vedānta-sūtra that each soul, after human life, goes and gets the results of